Everyone, and welcome to the Tomato Festival Sydney here at the Royal Botanic Gardens. My name is Costa Georgiadis. I'm the festival ambassador, and it gives me great excitement to be here. Now, even though we're online and it's a virtual event this year, and for those fans of the festival who know that just over there in the gardens we have such a phenomenal gathering with mandalas and food stalls and tomato tasting and all of that. Don't worry, that will come again. But for now, we're doing what we love doing, which is sharing information, which is informing people about the joys of horticulture with tomatoes. Yes, tomatoes at the very heart of it. And we're better to be doing it than here in the real heart of horticulture in Australia, in Sydney, the Botanic Gardens, the Royal Botanic Gardens here in Sydney. And with me, it gives me great pleasure to welcome Phil Petit from Community Greening. Phil, it's lovely to see you, and it's great to be here and to be a part of the festival, and that we're going on even under the challenging conditions.
Yeah, g'day, great. It's great to have everyone here for this virtual 2022 Tomato Festival, and we should also take this time to acknowledge that we're on the unceded lands of the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation, and it's important that we pay our respects to elders past, present and emerging. So it's really important, I think, because First Nations people were such great, environmental land managers, and I think that's what we're talking about here, as well as food and tomatoes. It's something they did exceptionally well, and it's something that's very important to my program, Community Greening, that I run out of the Botanic Gardens.
And that work that you do, you really are connecting people to horticulture, to soil, to country. That's right. And your work takes you right around the whole state, doesn't it?
That's right, yeah. So we support people in social housing, including Aboriginal housing across New South Wales, to grow food, to grow tucker, to share knowledge, and to build community and capacity within their communities. So we don't do a lot of it. We just support those people to sort of, bloom themselves and to, come and create a beautiful space.
And I think the best part about this festival now, which is in its ninth year. See,
seems like yesterday, doesn't it, mate?
It does. and you can't sort of stop and go, oh, well, we didn't do it, and then go, oh, well, it's kind of been 10 years, but it's only the seventh one. It's fantastic that the team here at the Gardens have pushed on and even provided for the festivals an opportunity for all of us to join together online and still learn during these last 2 years. Wow, almost 10 years.
Yeah.
And look, the best part about the festival is it's such a gateway into horticulture for so many people. Tomatoes are in literally every nationality's cooking. And to be able to have an event like this that brings people together and shares not only the growing, which is what we're going to do shortly, take you up there and talk about the growing, but then that true cultural element, which is harvesting, preparing and sharing.
Yeah, it's so important to our program, sharing culture. I mean, between 15 and 20% of our participants identify as First Nations. So 3 of our team of 9 amazing staff that go out and do the work we do, are First Nations staff. And so, and then we work with so many other diverse cultures. And of course, as you say, they all grow tomatoes. And if they don't grow tomatoes, chilies and capsicums, they're cousins and
relatives.
That's
right.
Buddies.
Yeah. Buddies in the growing department.
That's it.
So the good thing about this little tour we're going to do today is to share some firsthand knowledge, tips, tricks, and experience around growing tomatoes. Bear in mind, for those of you traveling, actually, can you let us know where you're watching from? Who's watching from Sydney? Let us know not only where you are, but what country you're watching us from as well. What land are you on? Are you up in Bundjalung country up in the north, or are you maybe you're in Larrakia country up in the NT? Who knows where you might be, but let us know. And we're going to be talking about tomato growing techniques and ideas in the context of Sydney, but you'll be able to take away lots of hints and tips. And the team here have been growing these. Phil, what do you reckon? Will we go and have a look?
Yeah, let's walk along and have a look.
Come join us. So I suppose what do you want to start with, containers or seeds? And where does it begin, the chicken or the egg, the container or the seed?
That's true, isn't it? So these are all grown from seed back in October to get this amazing crop. And I think they separated them out by a couple of weeks to try and make sure that they had some plants at varying stages, because it's really important that we have something to have our virtual tomato festival with.
Yeah, exactly. Now,
we all know nature can be, a beast, can't it?
Now, what's going to happen here is, so you've got me and Sam, you got me and Phil, but you've also got Sam and Wendy in the background. Wonderful Sam is running the camera and Wendy's running the cable. So we're going to do a bit of a tango and move around so that when we're talking about stuff, Sam's going to come up close so that you're going to feel like you're touching it. Otherwise, you're at home and we're here and it'll be a bit distant. So we're going to do a nice tango around in this tight aisles. But, feel free to come in and join us, Sam, and have a look at stuff up close and personal while Phil and I chat. So, okay, so the seeds, let's start there.
So they're heirloom seeds from diggers, and so that's really important to showcase the huge diversity that are there in tomatoes. As I said, planted in October to maximise the potential for cropping and having beautiful display plants. And the team, you must say, the team Val, who couldn't be here today, have done a great job with maintaining them and keeping them in what is a continually changing climate. And so I guess we've done a bit of a trial with wicking pots and with pots with saucers and a variety of different planting techniques. So I think given that it's a La Nina year, water probably wasn't the biggest issue.
No way.
In fact, in other elements it was for the humidity, but it's certainly really proven evident that at least a saucer, if you're growing a tomato in a pot, you at least want to have a saucer. So these ones originally weren't in a saucer, and then they started to dry out pretty quick, and so the team kind of placed saucers under here. So this is kind of like the poor man's wicking garden. We've got a great little website on how to create a wicking garden if you'd like to create a planter box or a tub in the wicking garden technique. And it is a really good way of, using water wisely and sustainable. As our First Nations communities, they used to harvest crops very sustainably, pick only what they need. We try to kind of, impart that sustainable principles into our horticulture.
Yeah. So this was a kind of, in effect, wicking bed, and then these are actual wicking beds.
Yeah, and so the benefit of that is that the water is inside this pot, and so that it doesn't evaporate as much as what a traditional saucer does. And then you can also top them up as well. So these ones were multi-planted, so there's 2 plants into each pot. The terracotta style plastic pot over there were 3 plants to each pot, and then there were single plants in each pot over here. Now, as you can see, there's quite a bit of infrastructure in place for these ones to secure them in place. So as is kind of typical of January, and particularly this year with the La Nina tropical storms we had, there was lots of wind for the team, and they were really kind of onto it and made sure they had everything secured down, because if they didn't, they would have ended up with snapped and broken tomatoes.
Yeah, and because the other thing to remember here is that these are being grown in the nursery area, which is highly sought after real estate in the nursery precinct. So for Val and the team to get sort of 2 tray runs was a big thing, but they're sitting up, so they're very prone to blowing over. It's not like they're in a garden and they're protected, so that they've got the wire, the string to hold them up there. I mean, these are very heavy, but these ones, then they've put some stakes with a couple of ocky straps, tie downs, and that holds them very very securely. So so the next question was, they went in October. What sort of progressive work took place as they were growing into November and December? What sort of maintenance work was required?
So initially they're planted into a premium potting mix, okay? And those are commercially available premium potting mixes, and the best, we talked about soil at the start there and how important it is. And obviously the best soil that you can get, that you can afford. And they were started off with an organic-based chicken manure to get them started. And then they've been liquid fertilised as well. They've obviously as well removed the lower leaves to make sure that there's plenty of, circulation for air, and also secured them because obviously, again, blowing over as well as moving around can quite easily snap them or damage them. So that's really important as well. And then, of course, we've got the fungal problems that are associated particularly with a La Nina year. So we need to continually prune and trim off any of the leaves that start to get any powdery mildew on them and any leaf spot and that sort of thing.
So this one you'd prune off shortly?
Yeah, you've got to have a certain acceptable limit on there. And particularly once they've fruited, we can lift up and remove. Yeah, you can see that leaf spot there. So plenty of it around, even here in the Royal Botanic Gardens, Sydney. So even with all this air movement, tied down, separated out, you can see that they're branched out. So there's plenty of air circulation through the middle, and with these mesh benches as well, plenty of air movement. But even with the, intense rainstorms that we've had here in Sydney, that high humidity is still causing this leaf curl and, the leaf spot. So it's a continual battle, and the guys have done incredibly well to get such amazing fruit crops. So I think with tomatoes, it's important to get those minerals right. So they've had mineral top-ups of liquid calcium and magnesium as well, so that they don't get too much of that blossom end rot, which is where the base of the fruit goes black. So that's really critical for tomatoes.
Yep. Now, come down here, Sam and Phil, and we'll have a little look. Now, these ones have been pruned at a certain point. What was the technique used here in terms of where it was pruned and what it was for? So from the tip, it was 2 down, was it?
Yeah, so you can see they've been topped out at the tip there, and then they continue to remove off any side branches to prevent them from, otherwise they'll keep spreading. So tomatoes will grow, how tall, Costa?
Yeah.
6-8 meters, they'll just keep going. They're a scrambling vine, and actually, in their traditional lands, they just kind of, like lantana almost, they just cover a whole hillside. They just kind of ramble along, and the fruits just drop off and rot on the ground and regrow. Of course, that's not what we want for, growing a beautiful edible crop. So Val and the team have got them all nicely secured up here, topped out, and then maintained at that height so we get the best crop. Okay, so these heirloom tomatoes are what they call indeterminate. So they just continue to grow and fruit and flower. Whereas the one up the end here, green grape, you can see, which is probably one of the parents of some of the patio varieties that you get these days.
Yeah.
So this is a determinate type of tomato. So you can see that the guys haven't had to really terminate this one out at the top. So those ones there are only really terminated for the maximum height that what you could safely kind of reach here, because obviously the team looking after them, their safety is really important. We don't want them pruning up a ladder just for some tomatoes for the tomato festival. But if you're after not so much work in the pruning situation, then these determinate varieties, green grape or some of the modern patio types, are really great for a compact. And basically they get to that height and they put on a whole row of fruit.
Have a look at
these ones,
Sam.
just keep growing.
Look at these. That is a stunning handful of fruit, isn't it?
And so just everyone knows that's its ripe colour there. So it's called green grape. And you might have noticed, we'll have a look at a couple of the other varieties. They're not all red. And you can see, look at the trusses on that. It's just stacked, isn't it?
That
incredible.
Is absolutely stacked.
Yeah.
And they're a good size. Well, that was...
Oh, they're so ripe.
Hang on, look at it. They are so incredibly ripe. That's, they're literally starting to split because of the rain. That's what happened with my cherry type tomatoes this year. And
so we had a lot of splitting last year, and we thought with the wicking pots and the saucers we might have kind of remedied some of that splitting, because the splitting occurs from the excessive moisture and over ripeness as well, of course, starts to cause them to split. And so we thought having wicking pots would create a more even moisture content in the soil. However, with La Nina and the constant rainfall, it's almost like excessive, and that humidity all in the atmosphere, that they've still continued to split. So it's a real challenge for your professional tomato growers, I'm sure, but most of the commercial guys would be picking these way before they were that ripe and falling off. I mean, at home, you'd be picking them and munching on them right now.
Exactly. They wouldn't stay on there very much.
And there's nothing wrong with a split tomato, so, you can cut it open just to check.
I'll just give it a wash.
Give it a wash. And Costa's run off on me. But there's nothing wrong with those splits. You can always cut a tomato open and have a look to make sure, just in case you think there's a little dot on it. But it's really important these days that we don't waste our food because it might have a split on there, that we can just cut it open or cut a piece off that's got a mark on it and then have a taste and make sure it's okay. So as soon as you cut a fruit open, you can nearly always tell if there's any fruit fly or caterpillars in there without having to waste the whole fruit. Particularly if you've grown it yourself, you don't want to waste that fruit. So just to prove that, we're going to eat it and we're going to have tomato seeds all through our beards.
Yeah.
So,
look at that.
Me, I wasn't waiting.
Oh,
that's really good.
That's good. And this is terrible television. Two bearded people eating tomatoes. Like,
beautiful.
It's Sunday viewing at its best. Now, we're going to head down and sit down and do Q&A. But just before we do, we'll just get Sam to come along, look at the name, and then go up and show you the fruit. This is called sugar lump. Look at the shape of this one.
That's a fasciated one. Hey, that's interesting, isn't it?
Fasciated. Can you explain that?
So that's where just randomly the cells kind of all multiply and divide, and it's like multiple fruits in one. So it's just a natural phenomenon where the cells go crazy. Yeah. I guess it's like, a natural kind of plant cancer, but it's not a one that's going to hurt anyone or us at all. So it's just, you get a bonus big fruit. Sometimes you'll see plant stems do that and they'll go extremely wide and spread out. So it's just a natural variation in the plant. So most of them are round, beautiful sugar lumps. One of my favorites.
Beams yellow pear.
So beautiful yellow pear-shaped fruit.
Again, it's got the split, but that's a beautiful shaped fruit. Then we move to another yellow. Explain this one, Phil.
So this is the Wapsipinicon peach, which I can never say. Wapsipinicon peach. I missed a pin out, but it's a beautiful one again. And there's one we've got down for tasting a little bit later, and it's just like a lantern. Look at it glowing, and it's got this soft, furry, peachy kind of skin on it. So it's a real cracker.
Tommy toe. Look at the size of those Tommy toes.
Yeah, this is one I've been growing at home. It's pretty good, very strong, robust.
And a nice size.
Nice size, beautiful colour.
Oh, sunrise bumblebee. Look at the colour on this.
So this one, so obviously as these have been growing, we've had to prune all these tomatoes off to keep fruiting, okay? And so obviously to prune these off, we've had to, the team here, the Hort team, have been snacking on these for their lunches.
Yum.
And according to Val, who's the head guy here in the horticulture team growing these tomatoes, he said this is by far the tastiest one. So
there it is.
It's a beautiful red bumblebee stripe in it, the sunrise. Look at that. I've got some of these at home myself, and they are delicious.
Valentine. A couple of days after St. Valentine's Day, but maybe you could grow tomatoes for your Valentine.
Yeah, beautiful heart-shaped
in 2023. And pick this one, and that way you're actually doing something for yourself as well. I like that idea. So, yes, my beloved, I'll make you a salad. What's this one?
Lemon drop.
Lemon drop, there it is.
So again, like a yellow cherry. I find that the yellow fruit are always quite sweet and tasty.
2 to go. We've got Jean Flemme.
Beautiful orangey red. Again, they're just ready to fall off.
Oh, they are.
That's
ready to go. Look at that.
And the plants are just hanging in there as well in the humidity too. So they've sort of just made it for our virtual tomato festival. Here's another, I've got to say, another one of my favourites. There's a few manky looking ones on there. But look at those beautiful black cherry tomatoes. So nice colour to that one, nice dark browny sort of red.
All right, well, we are going to do a little bit of a wander. So come with us through the gardens. This is the engine room. This is where lots of incredible research and growing takes place in these glass houses. And we're going to drop in to this house here, which houses a lot of the work done by the friends of the gardens, the volunteers. But we'll be talking to Greg a little later, and he'll explain what the volunteers do and how you can get involved. But in the meantime, let's go to the Tomato Festival Sydney television suite, the hot desk. It is. We're going to follow Phil to the hot desk, and you can, well, first of all, have a look at some of the tomatoes that we've got here, and we're going to set this up, and you'll be able to ask Phil questions. Oh, look, I've got a couple in my pocket.
And I think one of the things that we haven't really quite yet covered as well is that sometimes you'll get a few insects as well. So these guys have been using tomato dust, which is a naturally derived mineral and a natural-based, plant-based insecticide that helps control the fruit fly and the caterpillar as well. So hopefully when we cut these open, there should be no little critters coming out. So as I said before, if you're ever unsure, because a lot of tomatoes, when they're on the trusses, even when they rub together, they can get a little brown mark on them. So in the shops, they throw those ones away and we waste them, okay? So, and we grow like heaps of food in the world, don't we? Enough to feed ourselves like 3 times over. But we waste a little bit with a little mark. So when you grow your own, you can just cut those little pieces off and dig in.
So that's Wapsipinicum.
Wapsipinicum.
And this is the bumblebee. That's the bumblebee that you talked about. So I might just give that a try because
absolutely, dig in.
It's the unofficial winner of the competition that was not a competition. Nice texture.
To agree. That's
creamy texture. Yeah. Creamy texture. Yeah. Definitely a creamy texture. Here, try it.
Definitely. It's like it's got the salt and pepper on it already.
Yeah, I knew you would. Okay. So, any questions about tomatoes for Phil?
We had one question about blossom end rot.
Oh, okay.
You mentioned calcium can help, and they're wondering if anything else can help with the blossom end rot.
Yeah, so, well, I just had to finish that one because it was really good.
Yeah.
So the liquid calcium fertilizer is really good, but also if you can use some of the bone meals, you know, so blood and bone and those sort of derivatives as well in your soil mix, that's going to give it a real kind of boost. But if you're growing at home, you know, like I'm a big fan of the worm farm and the compost bin, and the eggshells are a fantastic source of calcium in the garden, aren't they? So you can see there, look, Costa's just cut off that little bit that's split there. So there's nothing wrong with this tomato here. It's just got a little bit of a split, and it's a little brown where it's dried out on the edge, but that's totally edible, yeah?
Yeah. Yeah, the calcium. Eggshells are such an available resource. Most households have them. The simple thing I do is once you've cracked an egg, give it a little rinse, let it dry out on the windowsill, and then you can either put it on a bench and roll it, put it in a mash it, or I just save them all up and put them in the blender. Blend them down to a nice dust, and then I put it around the plants. Yeah. And it's a slow release calcium. You don't have to go and buy it. It's just fantastic. There and readily available. So definitely consider that, and that way you're keeping it out of landfill.
Yeah,
for sure.
Whenever I kind of make a cake or do some eggs for breakfast, I'll just crack that egg. I normally just crush it in my hands there and then. I put it in the compost or the worm farm stuff, and so it's ready to go. I don't have to wash it. It's just crushed up. I can rinse my hands off, and it goes straight into the worm farm. The worms then grind it up for me, hopefully, and then it goes out and goes into the top of my tomato plants and gives them a boost of calcium. But For the guys in here, we were using liquid calcium, and that was just like, because, you know, plants, they're kind of like us, you know, they need their manure and that's like their carbohydrates, their pasta to keep them full of energy. And then like me and Costa, that we need our coffee in the morning, okay? So it's the liquid fertilizer that really gets things growing. So tea, coffee, juice, whatever it is that gets you going in the morning, the plants need it too.
We have another question.
Thanks, Sam.
Also, some lovely comments about your shirt, Costa. They're loving it.
Oh, yeah, my tomato shirt.
Yeah.
Now, the only thing is, because for a couple of years, I used to come in a red shirt, and I thought that's actually an outrage, and it's bullying of the beautiful Wapsipinicum peach and the yellow pear, because I was bullying them into thinking, well, tomatoes are just red. They're not. And more people eat coloured tomatoes these days. There's so many wonderful varieties, particularly the greens and yellows. So this is still celebrating red, but there's different names on there. So I'll work on it for next year's
Diversity's
festival.
key.
Yeah.
Speaking of diversity, someone, Stephen, has the question, what's the best cherry tomato to grow on a balcony that is perennial? Bit of a doozy, that one.
Yeah, look, tomatoes will last a long time if you look after them, but they're not really perennial. But if you're really after a long-lived one, I think these indeterminate ones that continue to grow along, you're going to be able to keep them going as long as possible.
Yeah, because they just have an engine.
Yeah.
It's like a diesel.
Yeah.
It will keep going, even though it might start to blow a bit of smoke. They will keep going. But
yeah, and look, I always say to people, start with a straight up cherry tomato. So one of the Tommy Toe or the, any of these, the sugar lump, any of the small ones are great. So start with something like that. And because they've got slightly thicker skin, they're less likely to get some of the pests and bugs and
definitely.
things. And then move on to your yellow pear and your black cherry, because I find, again, classic cherry tomatoes, but have a little bit more flavour and taste. And that different colour does kind of trick some of the pests as well. So, that's my recommendation for a small balcony kind of growing one. But obviously the team here, the bumblebee, sunrise bumblebee there, that's a beauty as well.
Who was that? What was their name?
Steve.
Yeah, Steve. Yeah, definitely. And, don't reduce yourself to one. Give bumblebee a go too.
Yeah.
And see how it fares, and come and tell us next year.
That's right. I find these heirloom tomato, the cherry ones, have a lot more like juice and flavour in them. Yeah.
Sid Ho has a question. Suggested companion plants for tomatoes growing in pots, please.
Oh, that's so good.
That black cherry, how sweet is that?
Yeah.
I'm going to say I prefer it over the bumblebee, but hey, I'm not going to go against the whole team here.
Well, yeah, because you've got to maintain a working relationship. But
they grew them.
I'm just wondering.
So companion plants, look, basil is obviously a classic, isn't it? So,
but not just
flavour combo.
Yeah, but not just because your traditional basil, some people have a lot of success with it. Some people struggle with it. Don't be shy to go hard on your classic bush basil, because it is a wonderful companion. It flowers. That is a true perennial.
Yeah,
and it flowers its head off the whole time. I in the last 2 weeks, I've added worm juice to my bush basil, which is out on the street next to my worm farm and compost bins.
Yeah,
and I've given it probably about 6 coffee cupfuls of worm juice over the last 10 days. So the thing is just
booming.
It's booming, and the flowers, they were covered in bees this morning. So that's a like. And the other thing is, you can just continuously snap a bit off, put it in a jar on the windowsill. The roots will come out, boom. Just to have them all through your garden. And if it's a balcony, you definitely need one of those on your balcony.
You've got all those flavours too. You've got Thai basil, Greek basil. Yep. So you've got those different sort of subtleties on the flavours depending on what your combination's like. But as you said, bees. Bees are a super important pollinator for tomatoes. And the team here reckons, since we've had all these native beehives, and we've also got European beehives on site here at the Botanic Gardens now, where we make our own honey, the pollination and fruiting of these tomatoes has improved greatly. And so they've reported a lot of native bees coming through the nursery here, which didn't happen before, and that's why it's important not to use chemicals and things as well.
So even colourful salvias, there's so many different varieties of salvias. We haven't even gone into the native plants that will bring them, but But just those two, even if you just got one salvia and one basil on a balcony.
But if you want natives, you've got your coriander and mint bush, you know, and they're going to give that kind of, those flavours go really well with tomatoes. So give them a try on a hot, dry balcony. That's going to work really well as well. But lavender, you know, anything in that sort of Lamiaceae or the salvia family, like you said, the sages, things like that are really great companion plants. I mean, you can't go wrong. If you've got some garlic or onions as well around, they're always really good for keeping the pests away. So there's a whole heap of different companion plants. But one thing to not forget is that a lot of people go, oh, well, if I've got tomatoes, I've got to have all this basil and cram them all into one really small pot. So make sure you've got a pot for each, or a really bigger, you know, wicking planter or a garden bed that you can actually fit them all in.
Yeah, or just have your pot with your tomato and then have other pots around it.
That's right.
And by having those around it, that helps cool that pot by staggering and, you know, putting a block and then sitting another pot on that and making a nice really combination of the structure, rather than, as Phil said, just jam everything in one pot and then, you know, you water your tomato regularly, but the basil doesn't want to get super duper wet.
Yeah, so I think we should probably be thinking about heading over and having a look at the growing friends now. Have we got any other questions, Sam? There, we're all good?
Well, we have a few, but
we've got time, haven't we?
One last question.
Okay, one last one. And look, because it's one last question, we better try
another one.
One last tomato.
Just go back to the bumblebee.
Someone in southeast Queensland, Cam Neville, is wondering if there's a good type of tomato suited for that climate.
I think they're all going to grow really well in the tropics. I mean, it's just that humidity. It's going to be
and you've got to grow them outside. Like, you're not growing them now.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
you know, you're growing them in your
dry season.
Your dry season. That's the key, because trying to, like, the level of humidity we've got in this La Nina year is like what you get every year.
Yeah,
and then you're just battling
fungal problems,
it, and the leaves will just you get a big afternoon storm. The humidity will hit. You lose all the leaves. It's just a battle.
So following all those tips, keeping them spread out, keeping them trimmed up and tied up, I think that's going to help you. But go through the dry season, maybe use some of the commercial, you know, wicking planter pots, or make your own wicking planter box, so that even though you're in the dry season, you've got that water reservoir underneath, and they've always got that moisture. And it's probably warm enough year round. You know, I mean, we did some work out at Angonia, which is back of Burke, and I couldn't believe, we were there in June and they said, yeah, we can plant pumpkins and tomatoes and eggplant. And I'm just like going, oh, okay. We brought all these cool climate veggies up there for them, the seeds, and they're telling, you know, communities teaching me about plants, which is what we always find, you know, where we learn our most important secrets.
Well, Phil, thank you for that wonderful sharing of all the knowledge from the team's work to grow the tomatoes for this year's festival. The tomatoes didn't really get to celebrate with the public, although they did online with you now.
Yeah,
so,
we virtually shared.
Yeah.
So we're going to go and join Greg from the Growing Friends of the Gardens. And one of the things, I guess, when I used to work in the nursery some 20 odd years ago, goodness me, was we first started the Growing Friends, and it was just one day a week. Now there's a group on every day of the week, and there's a waiting list as long as your arm to get in and join Greg and his mates here, propagating and selling plants in probably what is one of the best nurseries around, I reckon. I mean, look at all the plants here. You can see them around you. So Greg's going to share some of his propagating tips, and I'll let Costa take it away.
No worries. So, Sam, I mean, do a mix if you like between the stand and the thing. Greg.
Yes. Costa.
What a pleasure to be here.
Indeed.
What you wouldn't know is that I came down to see Phil and Greg just so that we could do a little bit of a check on how things were going to go. And Greg had his Thursday team hard at it, marching in and out, taking the cuttings over in the shed, and then coming out here and laying them down onto the trays. Like, it's such a hive of activity. How many days of volunteers do you have, and how many are in each daily team?
Well, we've got, for Sydney, we've got 5 days, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
Wow.
And about 10 in each of those.
Wow.
And we also open our nursery, our sales nursery, on Saturdays. So we've got up to 5 Saturdays that we have to also look after.
Operate with
so
staff.
We've got 5 separate teams for Saturday, or 4 plus some, extras.
Now, is what Phil said, how big is the waiting list?
Well, it has shrunk a bit. I mean,
Yeah.
COVID has done lots of things.
Yeah.
And in fact, quite a few of our older members have decided not to come back after COVID. So we're actually in a recruiting phase here. And we're very interested in getting people who are very keen to become a growing friend.
The thing I need you to realise is that is highly top. Like this is first respondent information. You're getting this first, because that door could slam.
Yes.
Once all the volunteers come up. This is like one of those tickets that you get and you don't give it up. But in all seriousness, if you're into growing or you want to improve your growing, the skills that will be imparted by going through the processes of growing all these different plants each week with Greg and all the other volunteers, because some of your volunteers have been doing it for...
Well, the first team, as Phil said, started about 24 years ago, and that team is still running. Wow. And Margaret Hanks, who's the leader of the team, is still the leader. It's amazing.
24 years.
Yeah.
So think about that knowledge
Yeah.
that you can get, and think about all the plants you buy, and then think about what you could do with some of this knowledge that Greg is about to share with us on propagation.
Well, I've had a 40-year career in commercial horticulture and research and whatever, but it's been a steep learning curve for me, because I've been exposed to such a diverse range of plants that we propagate. And I've taken on the challenge of trying to have success with things that previously we haven't. And I must say, I've had some really
light bulb moments.
Yeah, some real light bulb moments. So that's very satisfying for me too. But
after 40 years.
Yeah, after 40 years.
Just still
this is in my retirement. Yeah. So it's
retirement.
Your
retirement.
Yeah.
Your energy level is
Okay.
through the roof.
Yes, I pretend to be retired, but I just work and don't get paid for it. That's all. But it's a privilege to work in this place. You can imagine what it's like working in the gardens here, because we go out into the gardens with approval of the management and select cuttings from a lot of the plants.
Like you gardeners out there, you know what it's like when you see something, you think, oh, I can't buy that in a nursery. Yet the team here go out into this massive fairyland of plants, treasure trove, and go, right, let's collect, let's grow, and then you can come and buy them, and you won't get them in a normal nursery. That's the reality, isn't it?
That's the thing, yeah. We have... we propagate from a list of about 1,500 plants, but at any one time, our little Growing Friends nursery there, and out at Mount Annam, we have an outlet out there. In total, you can find 500 or 600 plants, different species, taxa of plants. That's incredible.
It really is. Yeah. So yeah, if you got an inkling or a yearning to give up 4 hours a week?
It's 5.5, generally.
Well, that's with
6
GST.
Yeah,
so 6
exactly.
And then community tax on top of that. So 6 hours. Give up the better part of a day.
Yeah.
To walk away with so many skills that you can then pass on to your family. I'm not saying that as an advertisement. I'm just saying, like, wow, if I could give up a day, I would come and do it. I just can't.
Well, we do have some people who are still working. And growing friends, the friends part's pretty important too, because I've made so many friends here, people that I call friends, and I look forward to seeing them every week. So it's terrific. And, we work together, and we wash pots, we take cuttings, we do all sorts of stuff.
Fill pots, everything, all the steps.
We do everything.
So, all right, we want all of our visitors to the Tomato Festival 2022, because they're online. We want them to take away information. Phil's shared a whole lot of information about the tomatoes, and we thought, what an opportunity for you to share a couple of skills. What are you going to show us today? I see we've got begonia.
Well, we're going to
classic.
We're going to do Rhizomatous Begonias, and in the past they were thought of old ladies or old men's plants that you'd find on the musky patio or something like that. but they're actually pretty trendy, and a lot of young people are very interested in these. Well, we have a marvellous collection of them in the Botanic Gardens, and the reason why they're called Rhizomatous is you can see that they just keep growing, a bit like the indeterminate tomatoes, they just keep growing. But there isn't really a stem that you could take a cutting from, because a lot of the other plants, we actually cut up a stem and we can take a cutting. But these, you can have magic with these, and these are wonderful to do at home. We actually take leaf cuttings.
Oh,
Leaf cuttings. So it's pretty efficient too, because from a leaf like that, you could probably get about 12 cuttings from that leaf. And I've got some.
they're good odds.
They have pretty good
They're
odds.
very good odds.
So one of the identifying features of these is that they have these very prominent veins. See, like that?
Like little highways.
Yeah, little highways. That's exactly it. And this one's even more prominent.
Oh yeah, that's the M5.
That's
heading
right,
south.
the M5, and this is the
the
really
M1.
expensive M7.
Or
I
the
think
M7.
there.
Yeah, God, that's going to cost a lot.
Exactly.
And
yeah.
there's no signs.
No, there's
That's
no
the
signs.
best part
It tricks
about
you,
the new
doesn't it?
tollways. No
Yeah,
sign.
yeah.
So it doesn't hurt.
No, you
Doesn't
hear a
hurt.
click and you think, God, how many dollars is that?
Yeah, how much did I get clipped?
Anyway, so look, we've just run a propagation workshop for the public, which we do maybe 3 times a year, not a week. I can't do that.
Yeah.
And we've chosen 2 plants that are really popular there, and I think that speaks for what's popular out in the public arena.
Yep.
And this might entice a few young people to have a go at propagating these at home. So
Here we go.
Now this one is called Cowardly Lion, which is amazing. I think that's from The Wizard of Oz or something like that. And a lot of these begonias, they change colour according to how much light they're grown under. Now, this is the same plant. Can you believe it? They're the same plant. This has been grown under a lot of shade, and this one with more light. And it develops the colour, because this is more the true colour.
Yeah.
And you can see those interesting spirals.
Oh, that
But
rusty.
look, I brought this here just to demonstrate very clearly what a rhizomatous plant looks like. But we're actually going to do one of these, which is a new one for us. We're not sure of the origin, but we've given it a wonderful name, because if you have this in a very dark area inside, then the leaves really have no colour. They're almost like that, Shiraz.
Oh, they're like, yeah.
So we've called this Shiraz Sparkle, because it's got the sparkle of the lime and the edging of the Shiraz colour.
You didn't tell me you had a undisclosed skill like that. That's like paint chart specialist. When you're naming paint colours, and now here you are naming
it just came to me. It's a bit like Wordle, just happens to come to you. Anyway,
I'm impressed.
So what we're going to do is we're going to cut one of these up. So it's just a miniature version of this.
Yep.
You can see we've got all those veins.
4, 5, 6. So there's 6 veins.
Yeah. And if you're going to do this at home, it really is important that you disinfect this in like a diluted bleach solution. So I've got some bleach here.
Could vinegar do the same thing?
No, not.
So it's got to be bleach.
It's got to be bleach or a pool algicide or something like that. So you swish it in there, and what you're doing is you're surface sterilising this. And that reduces the chance of fungus growing inside the bag that we're going to grow it in, because we can grow this. We don't need a greenhouse. We just need a Ziploc bag.
Oh, wow.
But this is a really important part, and often the difference between failure and success. So this has been sterilised. We just rinse that off in some clean water, and now we're ready to go. So what I'm going to do, actually I'll use the finer ones here, is first I'm just going to snip around the centre and just take that out, because we don't need that. And then you can see that if you cut it there.
Oh yeah, you literally cut it to that low point.
You cut it there.
Oh, that's perfect. 2.
You cut it there.
3.
And this is quite a small leaf. So, and what I generally do is I tidy it up so it looks like that. That's what the cutting looks like. And you can see that the vein there is quite prominent, and it's from the vein that forms little plantlets. Now they can take quite a while, but what we're going to do...
Quite a while? Is that Greek time? Or?
Well, yeah, Greek time, yeah. So, look,
I've grown up around that.
This one, Greek time.
Greek time. How long is quite a while?
Well, you know, I don't know, but you know, generally you have to be patient with these things. But this is a quick one. This Shiraz Sparkle. It actually starts to root within about 2 months, I suppose. You start to see the little babies.
Wow, that is quick.
It is very quick. But anyway, I'll show you how we're going to put them in. This is a special propagation mix that we've made up. And that's based on a premium potting mix that you can buy from a hardware or a nursery. And we add about 50% perlite. Now you can buy perlite from those outlets as well. And perlite is a mineral that's been heated to a very high temperature, and it sort of explodes like popcorn. And what it does is it provides a bit more aeration in there, in the potting mix. So and you know, developing shoots need a fair bit of aeration. So it's better to have a mix like this than just use straight potting mix. You'll have much better success.
There you go.
So this is a special little tool. You don't need it really. You can use a chopstick or
a butter knife.
Like that. Yeah, butter knife.
Butter knife you get from the op shop.
Yeah, definitely from the op shop. So all you're wanting to do.
Oh, look at that!
Let me tell you that you don't need to add any hormone or anything to this. We did some trials with a whole variety of stuff during a Christmas break one year with the Friday team, and we did because I come from
those Friday rebels. Yeah. They're always doing something different, aren't they? They're just mixing it up.
They are, but they were good to come in. And given that I've got a research background, of course, I like to replicate things and, you know, do it in an ordered way. So we did all of that, and we proved that there was no benefit by putting a liquid hormone on there. So you don't need to go out and buy one if you're doing these. So we're just putting it in there, and we're going to line them up like little soldiers, little Vegemite wedges.
Like little terracotta.
Yeah, warriors.
They're leaves.
Yeah, they're leaves.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah.
So,
and I like to do things nice and neat anyway. So you just.
But isn't that amazing? I mean, one leaf on that plant that has about 25 leaves on it becomes one pot full.
Yes. So this plant actually that I showed you is what we call a mother plant or a stock plant. So we keep these. We don't have to go out into the gardens and find the leaves. We grow them ourselves. So, you know, anything new that we're introducing, we just we only need 1 or 2 leaves to get started, and then we produce a mother plant. And so, you know, if the Friday team feel that they need to, you know, judging on their stock levels, they need to propagate this, they might only take 2 leaves, and they'll get, you know, 2 full pots. And we do that on a regular basis so that, you know, we've got
the turnover's happening. Yeah. Wow.
Now, this will take a while, but I've brought in one from home. It's not exactly the same variety, but it's very similar. And you can see that they were bigger leaves, so I had bigger leaf cuttings, but the same business, the same shape. And you can see what's happening from the bottom. And I must say I've neglected this. I've been too busy at the Growing Friends to look in my greenhouse.
So these are
the little
plants.
babies.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And we have been...
So 3, 10, 21.
Yeah.
It's sort of...
It was during lockdown.
Yeah. So that's October to November to December to January. So 3 and a bit months.
Exactly.
And you got a little pot full of plants.
Yeah. And this came from a... I go for a walk around Mascot near where I live, and I saw this begonia on someone's front step, and it was at the time in full flower, because these do flower.
Yeah.
But that's not the main reason you have them. So I knocked on the door, and her name was Phyllis.
Phyllis. Of course Phyllis is going to have a begonia.
Exactly.
That name.
And I said, Phyllis...
They go together.
I love your begonia there. She said, well, love... take some cuttings. And I said, I really only want 2 leaves. Oh, she said, you must take some cuttings. I said, no, truly, 2 leaves is enough. So that's what I did.
She wasn't aware that you were going to turn those 2 leaves into,
and she said, what do you want the leaves for? And I said, well, I grow little plants from them. So That's the origin of this.
Oh,
From mascot.
the mascot special.
Phyllis.
I
Yeah,
love
Phyllis.
it. Yay,
Yeah.
Phyllis.
So
The Phyllis begonia.
and you know, she didn't miss those leaves. You couldn't even see where we took them.
Yeah.
So we have we've recently done some trials here looking at improving the outcomes from this stage to this stage, because we were losing a lot.
Yep.
A lot. So anyway, what we've come up with is that in this state, when you're going from this stage, pricking them out or
Yep.
digging them up and planting them out, it's really important, I think, to go into a potting mix that's almost 100% peat. So you'd buy some peat moss from the hardware and mix it about 50% in a premium potting mix. And we're just getting such good results now. We're getting, you know, not only are we getting almost 100% survival, but really fast growth. And once you get them to this size, they're quite fine in here. So we're getting a lot of success with these now.
Oh, wow. That is some great information, everyone. Now, Phil, Greg. What am I talking about? Greg.
Yeah.
So we were going to do one more cutting and then have a bit of a chat to any questions.
Okay.
So what's the second
can I
cutting?
just say something about the begonias?
Oh, yeah.
We've got this beautiful collection of these Rhizomatous Begonias, and we're actually featuring them as plant of the month for March. So a lot of these new ones, and there are new ones, are going to go into our sales nursery next Friday. So from next Friday, you'll be able to go and buy them.
Next Friday. You heard it first. That's
Yes.
not even released online. This is a world first. Greg Lamont has just given you, all of you Tomato Festival viewers, a leg up and in the door to some begonias that you may never get hold of.
Exactly.
That easily. Oh, thanks, Greg.
Okay. Now, we cannot possibly do a propagation workshop or speak over without doing Costas.
The Costas.
The spiral bamboo. Not bamboo, the spiral ginger. And it's called a spiral because the leaves they're not opposite, they're not alternate, they're spiral. So they go around in a spiral.
Wow.
And you can even eat these.
Yeah, I know you can. They're actually edible. I've been up in the north, up in Cairns, and they say.
Yeah, you put them in a salad.
Mm. Oh, it's like
good.
Sherbet.
Sherbet.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, really
well,
tangy,
that's good.
lemony.
Anyway,
Yum.
These are they're sort of a ginger, not a true ginger, but they belong to the ginger family, and they're very ornamental. They grow really well in shade along the whole coast of New South Wales. Fantastic. So they're great garden plants, but how do you propagate them?
Tell me.
Well, they do have a rhizome. In other words, they underground storage organ that has shoots on it. But that would be destructive if we did that here, and we're not allowed to. So we propagate these from stem cuttings. Now, they look pretty odd, don't they?
Mm.
And they're big, thick
it's
cuttings.
like a bamboo.
It's like a bamboo. But all you need to do, and I've started doing some here, is, well, let me tell you one thing. When you're doing these, you don't want to be distracted because you really need to plant them up the right way. And if you take the leaves off, so the way we prevent making an error is that at the bottom, we cut them off just square, and where we're going to cut the cutting, we cut it on an angle.
45, yeah.
Yeah, 45. So
then you know that's going in.
So then you know. And you really don't have to do anything other than just shove them in a potting mix like that.
Hang on, can we just do that
pretty
again?
technical,
because
isn't
this is very technical.
Do you want me to cut you
and
another
I think
one?
we need to go slow motion on this. I need Sam to be focused on the video to catch this
So
yet again. Okay, the leaves are off.
You can leave the leaves on, but they're going to die and fall off anyway.
Yeah.
So you just take them off. That's the right way up.
Okay.
Okay, we ready?
Repeat. Yep.
Okay. Ran. And even if it damages the base, it's nothing. So these will sit here for maybe 3 months. And it's funny, but where there's been a leaf here, there's actually a dormant shoot hiding in there.
Yeah.
But it doesn't come into break dormancy unless you do something like this. because I've never seen them shoot in the gardens like that. But what you'll end up with, this will break down and you'll get some roots forming and a shoot. And the shoot will sort of come up 3 or 4 inches. Yep. And by the time these are ready, you've got shoots that are spiraling up here. It's fascinating. I wish I had some to show you, but we've potted them all up and they've gone.
Well, 2 wonderful opportunities for you to take your propagating to the next level. Hang on a sec. Can you hold that for a sec, Greg? Just requires you've got to push down. I'd say that. I should have shown you that. Okay, so do we have Sam? The wonderful Sam is operating the questionometer. Are there any questions for Greg?
Yeah, there's one question about begonias. Can they be propagated at any time of the year?
Look, they're best to be done during the warmer months, but I've propagated these at home during winter, but they're much, much slower. So you'll get faster results if you plant them, say, from September through till April.
Okay.
And then if you're up north, you've got...
Yeah, up north, it's like a greenhouse anyway, isn't it? So you could propagate them all year round.
Elise wants to know if there's anything else you can propagate using the leaf cutting method.
Yes, there is. Now, one of the things we do in the Growing Friends is that we do these wonderful indoor plants. But see this peperomia? Well, that peperomia can be propagated in a similar fashion. But the way you do it is to, and I'll just steal a leaf from here.
Oh, security. Oh, we actually have security here. Yeah, they saw that theft. It's been caught on film.
Okay, so you don't do it the same way you do begonias, even though there are lots of veins there. The way we do it, and of course, we surface sterilize it, bleach it. And all you need to do is cut these. You'll need a few leaves, but cut them just down the center, and then you just sort of put a slot in there and stand them up on the side and just tuck them in.
On the cut side?
On the cut side. And depending on the variety, some are quicker than others, but they will produce another plantlet actually on the vein. But this is our preferred way of doing this. So it's very slow. It's slow but we've got time here.
Yeah.
And there's no labor costs. So it's pretty satisfying. So peperomia caparata type peperomias you can do with leaf cuttings.
A question about the ginger. Can you propagate all gingers in that same way?
No. Edible ginger, of course, you need to take a piece of the actual rhizome, which is the part we use. And these plants have that same structure, but as I said, in the gardens, it would be quite destructive if we got in and dug them up. So we do it otherwise.
You may no longer be running the volunteers.
Yes, exactly.
Greg served well until he went for a rhizome excursion and got kicked out.
One more question about the bleach. Do you dilute that?
Yes. If you were in a commercial nursery, you would actually dilute the bleach of 1 part bleach to 8 parts water. But that's pretty strong to be using around the house. So I would just say 1 part bleach to 20 parts water, and just leave it in there for a few minutes, and that will still do the right job. The really high concentration is for, high-level laboratory sterilisation of plant leaves, but that will work well at home. So one part bleach to 20 parts water.
1 to 20.
Is this being recorded? Yes.
Oh, yes. Yeah, it's being recorded.
So you can come back and watch it again whenever?
Yeah, you can watch it on the Royal Botanic Gardens Facebook page. You can also watch it on my page and also on YouTube as well. So whatever you have access to, if you've got someone who isn't into socials, they can watch it on YouTube on my YouTube channel. So it's available there. Any other questions, or is that it? Well, thanks everyone. Might just get Phil in. in the centre, Phil.
Oh, thanks.
Wow. Well, look, to everyone out there online who joined this broadcast, but also to anyone who joined the broadcasts earlier today. And if you haven't seen the earlier ones, there's been some great broadcasts earlier today on how to make a caprese salad and how to make a tomato sauce. Yeah, so if you want to follow up on those, jump on the Botanic Gardens website. Listen to me, autopilot. Jump on the Facebook page, and you'll see those broadcasts will be there, and share them out there, please, because. And yesterday there was also some broadcasts at the Diggers Club, a couple of broadcasts, one from Tim, one from Clive. So have a look at those ones as well. Thank you for keeping the Tomato Festival thread alive and well by jumping online, because we know everyone's had a lot of online for the last couple of years, and these decisions had to be made last year when things were a lot more uncertain, and we were still able to get together over this weekend and do some great things with the vision, down the track that, we see what happens, and hopefully we get together again. But for now, big thanks to all of the people that presented yesterday and today. Paul West, Clive, Tim from Diggers as well. Who else was there?
Diana, who's a volunteer.
Diana, one of the volunteers here at the Gardens. Thank you to all of them for their contribution to keeping the 2022 Sydney Tomato Festival alive and well. And of course, to Greg, who's just given us a wonderful presentation. Really, these are valuable gardening skills that, you could do a workshop to pick up, and Greg shared that with us. Also shared the wonderful opportunities with the growing friends. Don't underestimate that opportunity. And even if you're not in Sydney, look up your local botanic gardens. They all have growing friends. They all need people, whether it's the Melton Botanic Gardens, the smaller regional ones in Geelong or Albury or
Gold Coast.
Gold Coast. Yeah, Gold Coast's got a great one. Tundoon up in far north Queensland, Adelaide Botanic Gardens, they've all got them. Look them up. And it's not just for retirees. Like, if you're into gardening, particularly young people out there, if you want to get ahead in hort, get in and join the friends and tap into knowledge of all of the volunteers and let alone the coordinators who have lots of skills. And of course, a big thank you alongside Greg is Phil, who does amazing work with community greening and came in today to share the knowledge of Val and the team that were behind the growing of the tomatoes that normally would have been presented down in the gardens. Phil,
Yep.
Thanks for
being
here.
And if you're into, your culture and plants and people, we do have a small event at the Australian Botanic Garden, Mount Annan, in a month's time, Sunday the 20th. So it'll go up on the What's On page in about a week or so's time. Small event. There'll be cultural storytelling in different languages, Arabic, Vietnamese, some demonstrations on cooking, like we've had today, around different foods and different cultures, and just sharing our plants and our stories and things. And so that's going to be a really great little event, a smaller event, but feel free to come out and join us and learn about the different things that we do with community greening and learn from the different cultures that we work with. So a lot of First Nations focus and weaving and storytelling and the like. So it should be great. Some tours in multilingual languages around the Botanic Gardens at Mount Annan there as well. So it should be really good.
Phil, awesome work that you do.
No worries.
Likewise, Greg. Follow both of these groups, the community greening and the Friends of the Gardens online. I also want to give a big thanks to behind the camera, who you can't see, but the wonderful Sam and Wendy, who does such an incredible job coordinating the Tomato Festival. Thank you, Wendy, and thank you, Sam, for the work you've done behind the scenes to make it happen online this year.
And a big thanks to you, Costa, for being our ambassador and for bringing all the people along so we can share our story and showcase all of our work that we're doing.
Oh, thanks, Phil.
No worries.
It's a real treat to be involved with
Always.
the work that everyone's doing here, and spread these broadcasts out so more people can see them. And if you come to Sydney, come and check out the Friends on their open days. And yeah, come and visit the gardens and Mount Annan and also at Mount Tomar for the Cool Climate Garden. They're 3 fantastic gardens with a lot going on in them at the moment. So from here for today, for the 2022 Sydney Tomato Festival, we're saying
Farewell.
ciao.